Okay, welcome to this another session. We're still looking at computer security introduction. So I'm Mr. Warrior. Make sure, like always, you get a paper or maybe a book where you're supposed to be taking note of the important points that we'll be talking about in this session. Okay, so now before we go into details of what computer security is, if you remember properly, last time during the introduction to computer security, we defined some terms that you're supposed to be familiar with as you start looking at computer security in detail. Okay, so now before you go to the detailed one, let us just run through we do a recap of what we did last time so that you have a clear view of where we are coming from and also where we are going. Okay, to start with, we defined what a computer security is. We say, so the only system which is truly secure is one which is switched off and unplugged, locked in a titanium lined safe, buried in a concrete bunker, and is surrounded by nerve gas and very highly paid armed guards. Even then, I wouldn't stake my life on it. So now, these are the objectives that we are supposed to meet at the end of this lecture. So the first one, we're supposed to be aware of the objectives of computer security, and the main techniques for realizing these objectives. Be able to describe basic authentication techniques. Also be aware of access control. We defined access control models. I'm sure you have ideas. If you've forgotten, don't worry, that's why we're doing this recap to remind you of where we're coming from. Okay, so also talk a bit about the importance to authorization mechanisms. Why is a computer security important? The types of computer security, the threats that you are likely to encounter as you. Yes. Okay. So now, what is security? Like we said earlier on, security, we define security as the management of access to a resource of a system. So a computer understanding of security should address the following. So the first one that needs to be addressed by the computer security understanding is, how does the system work? So how is the system vulnerable and what are the threats? So now in this lecture, we'll be able to go into details to talk about the threats that are involved, or the threats that are involved in computer security, and also the measures that we can use to prevent such threats. Okay. The next one is, how do we prevent them? Okay, how do we detect and respond to attacks on the system? Okay, so this one we'll be able to talk about it into details as we go on in this lecture. Just make sure you are following through and you are paying attention, you're writing somewhere, taking note of the important concepts, especially the examples that I gave. Normally the examples are not even in the slide, so just make sure you have somewhere else you're writing. So an attack on a system is simply unauthorized access or an attempt to access a resource where no access is permitted. Okay, so this is simply just a recap of what we did. So computer security, now we've defined what security is, and also we know what a computer is. So a computer, by definition, we say this is an electronic machine which operates under the user's instruction. It is able to process data, retrieve data, store data, and also process data. Yes. So now today we are not talking about computers or the components of the computer, but I just wanted you to have an idea, or to remind you the definition of a computer before we combine it with security. So when you talk of the computer, meaning we are talking about the device which depends on electricity for it to be able to work. Okay, So now we are combining the two, computer and security, so we are calling it computer security. So now this is the definition of what a computer security is. So computer security is the protection of computing systems and the data that they store or access. Computer security rests on confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So these three that are involved in the computer security, mostly we abbreviate them as CIA. So the CIA, when you see CIA, it simply stands for confidentiality, C is for confidentiality, I is for integrity, and then A is for availability. Okay, so this is just the basic introductory of the confidentiality, integrity, availability, and the rest. We'll be able to talk more on these three, the CIA, as we go on in this lecture. Okay, so we've skipped confidentiality because you know what confidentiality is. For the sake of those who are not there, so we're saying confidentiality is the concealment of information or resources. So you know what it means to conceal information, like to protect information or the resources so that no one else can have access to such important, if it's the document, to such important documents or to such important credentials. It may be your academic credentials or your passwords, such information. So we need confidentiality. Okay. We also talked about access control mechanisms, supports confidentiality. If you remember, that's what we said last time. So now I'll be able to explain more on how it supports confidentiality, the access control mechanism. Then the other one is one access control mechanism for preserving confidentiality is called cryptography, which scrambles data to make it incomprehensible. So under the issues of cryptography, we defined what cryptography is, and we said this is when the plain text is changed to the language which people can't understand or someone cannot understand. For example, an example, if I remember clearly, the one that we gave, it was on ABC. So now let's say the ABC, this is the password to someone's device. Then I want to tell them that, okay, no, maybe I want to tell someone my password. That, okay, no, the password to my computer, it's ABC. So now, instead of me saying ABC, because ABC, obviously everyone can know that, okay, no, this is the password. So I can use numbers. I assign each letter a number. So I just say, okay, A is in the alphabet, correct? It's in the alphabet and it's the first letter of the alphabet. So instead of writing A, I just write number, the value, which is 1. B 2. Then C 3, meaning 1 2 3. So if 1 2 3, use the alphabetical order to decrypt the 1 2 3. Then you'll find that the person will be able to know the password. That's the issues of cryptography. We'll be able to do some practicals, and also how we can be able to encrypt some plain text to computer text form. Okay, let's move on. So we go to computer security. Sources is another important of confidentiality. We talked about this. Okay, let's go to the next slides, which is integrity. So we are now talking about the 3 important aspects that are involved in computer security. So the first one, we said, is confidentiality. The second one is integrity. So now under integrity, we are saying it refers to trustworthiness of data or resources and is usually phrased in terms of preventing improper or unauthorized change. Okay. integrity mechanism, it also falls into two classes. So the first class is the prevention mechanism, then the second one is the detection mechanism. So you have to take note of these two important classes that are under integrity. Okay, so the first one we're saying is the prevention mechanism, then the other one is detection mechanism. Okay, so now prevention mechanism, we are saying it seeks to maintain data integrity by blocking any unauthorized attempts to change the data or any attempts to change the data in unauthorized ways. Okay, so now when we're talking about confidentiality, we're talking about the concealing of information. Now under integrity, we're simply talking about now the people having access and also able to modify the information, like change something in the information. That's what it means under integrity. Okay, then the unauthorized users that we are talking about here is those hackers. The hackers who we call, there are two different types of hackers. We've got ethical ones, we also have unethical hackers. So unethical hackers, these are people who try to steal people's information or to access people's bank accounts, devices, or steal your passwords without your knowledge. Those are called unethical. Then those who do hacking, mostly for educational purposes, or maybe they are protecting maybe a certain system or a bank system. Those are called ethical hackers. Okay, we go to the last one, which is availability. So availability, it refers to the ability to use the information or resource desired. Availability, it is important. It is an important aspect of reliability. Okay, I'll explain more on what it means, the reliability part, because an unavailable system is at least as bad as no system at all. Okay, so now let me briefly explain on what this statement means. This statement here. Okay, so availability is an important aspect of reliability. So we all know what it means to rely on something. It means you depend on something, right? Okay, so now let's say, since we're talking about security issues, let's say this is let's give an example of eBay. So we all know that people use eBay for buying and selling of goods online. So now let's say you want to access eBay. Now they say their system is down, it's slow, it's not working, like it's not satisfying the customers. So meaning that that site for eBay, we can say it's not reliable, we cannot depend on it. So an available system is at least as bad as no system at all. Okay, so I'm sure you understand what that means, the availability part. So meaning information, if you want to access something on the internet, the information has to be there. If you want to check maybe for the shoes, the information for the shoes, it has to be there. Now if the information is not there, meaning the site is not reliable. Okay, we go to the third point, which is saying the aspect of availability is relevant to security is that someone, let me just write it so it becomes more visible. Okay, so this is visible, is that someone may deliberately deny access to data or to a service by making it unavailable. Go to DOS. So the DOS, these are three initial letters, they stand for denial of service. So now what it means when we say denial of service, I'm saying the type of attack that makes data or resources unavailable when it's not supposed to. like the data for the shows is supposed to be there, but because of the denial attacks, it makes the data not to be there, not to be online. Okay, sure you understand what this means. We go to the next slide. So you remember in the introduction, under the objectives, when we are stating the objectives of computer security, of what is expected to be covered here under computer security, I mentioned access control mechanism, and also we'll now talk about how it helps confidentiality. So now access control, we are saying the process of limiting access to the resources of a system to only authorized persons, programs, processes, or other systems. Okay. So now what this simply means is the process of limiting access to the resources. So if you remember clearly, last time I gave an example of an institution. So an institution, it has got different, let's say this is Honda, it has got different schools. There is school of business, school of education, school of agriculture, school of natural sciences, school of engineering, school of medicine, different schools, and also different departments. So now what we mean by limiting access, let's say this is the accounts office. So the accounts office, it deals with issues to do with money, specifically money. So someone from academics cannot have access to their system because they are only limited to school related issues. Let's say the bazaar or the accountant is the one who is supposed to access the information concerning any transactions or any money related issues. So that's what we mean by limiting access. Yes, so and also students are only limited to check their results, check the courses, and also download the courses. They cannot edit anything, like they cannot have access to the accounts office, or they cannot have access to these other departments. They've got what they can be able to access specifically. So that's limiting access now to the users. And this is why we said access control mechanism, it helps confidentiality in these issues, like the example I'm from giving. So when we do that, meaning we are promoting confidentiality of information. Okay, so let's talk about the authentication. So the process to verify the identity of a user, device, or other entity in a computer system often is as a prerequisite to allowing access to resources. Okay, the process to verify the identity of a user. So here, this is where now we use passwords, PIN, personal identification numbers, patterns, and all other maybe biometric identifications that you can mention under authentication. Okay, so non-repudiation, so method by which the sender is provided with proof of delivery and the recipient is assured of the sender's identity, so that neither can later deny having processed the data. So what this simply means is the non-repudiation method by which the sender is provided with proof. So the sender, meaning in this case it can be you who is the user. Maybe you are trying to send something. Before sending something, you've got to have what? The proof. And the recipient is assured of the sender's identity. And the person who is receiving your information, or the information that you are sending to him or her, has got proof of your identity to say, okay, this is the person who is sending me this information. In case maybe some other issues arise, he or she can be able to defend. They can defend themselves because they had proof.
You cannot deny because they have proof that okay, no, it was you who was actually sending this information on such a day, that month. Yes, that's what basically we mean on the non-repudiation and the computer security. Okay, let's make progress. Okay, so now having talked about the security, we defined the terms that we'll be using in this security, computer security issues. So now why do we need security? So I'll just list some of the reasons why, the most important ones, as in why we need this security in our everyday life. Then we'll be able to elaborate more after this. So the first point we are saying is we need security to protect sensitive resources. Sensitive resources can be files. So we need information to protect sensitive information. I'm sure you understand what this means. The second one, prevent loss. So if someone is able to maybe have access to my information, that person maybe can even delete some of the information, the important information, meaning I'll lose that information. That's what we mean by prevent loss. And also prevent damage. Damaging, maybe someone posts a virus, damages the files, meaning again you are losing. You've lost the important information. That's why now we need security. So as I'm listing these important reasons as in why we need security, sure you can also feel free to add other reasons which I have not listed here, the ones you feel okay they can be here, the reasons why we need security. Okay, so in the context of information system, prevent unauthorized users from reading information. So from reading information, this is where now the issues of confidentiality comes in. Prevent unauthorized users from tampering with information. So the tampering part, this is where integrity now comes in, to make sure that no one tampers with our information, no one tampers with the data that we are sending. So these are the most important reasons why we need security. So now how can we implement now the security measures? Okay, so add mechanism to prevent access, locks, guards. How do you gain access to protected resources? So locks are opened with keys. So meaning if you're able to lock something, maybe a door, you need a key to open that door. So same with computers. Okay, I'll be able to explain more on this one, on the locks, the lock part. The guards only allow certain people in, not everyone. Guards have to be given a list of trusted users. Okay, I'm sure it's clear here. So now let's dig into some more information here. Okay,
So let's now look at computer security in details now. That was just the introductory part here. Let us now dig into new styles of computer security, of what computer security is. Okay, so now computer security, we are saying, is the protection that is set up for computer systems and keeps critical information from unauthorized access, theft, or misuse. So we know when we say unauthorized access, meaning this is maybe someone who is trying to have access to someone's information without their approval. Okay. Theft, you know what it means to steal. Maybe someone steals your Facebook password, your credentials, your email password, and all that. So, and also misuse of information. So now there are various practices in place that are widely in use mainly for the protection of computer systems and networks and preventing potential malicious activities. So when you talk of malicious part, meaning this is where now the issues of viruses comes in. Okay, so while computer hardware is secured in the same way that sensitive equipment such as lockers and doors are protected, critical information and system access and authorization, on the other hand, are protected through complex security tactics and practices. Okay, so now that's all for computer security definition. Let's move on to the section on computer, on security threats and issues now. Okay, make progress. Okay, computer security threats, issues and vulnerabilities. So computer security threats, these are potential risks that have the capability of disrupting the normal functioning of computer systems. So you know what viruses does, what they do when they get into the computer. Same with the viruses that maybe, for example, these other diseases, but let's say maybe HIV or any other viruses, when they get into a human body, what they do, mostly they just cause damage. So that's the same with computers, yes. So now cyber threats are on the rise each day, especially with the digitalization of the world. Let's take a look at all kinds of major computer security threats, issues and vulnerabilities. So the first one we'll look at is viruses. So now, what is a virus? What is in this case, to be specific, what is a computer virus? Okay, so a computer virus, by definition, we are saying, is a malicious program that is installed into a computer without the knowledge of its user. So this program can replicate itself and infect all the programs and files that are in the system. Okay, so here we are saying a computer virus, it replicates itself and then begins to infect now these other folders. There are different types of viruses. We'll talk about the different types of viruses that are under security threats. Okay, so now these viruses make the victim's computer malfunction or at the worst completely unusable. Okay, so let's move on to computer worms. So computer worms, we're saying a computer worm is a software program that can undergo replication from one computer system to another without the need for human interaction. So now the difference between the two, between viruses and worms, viruses, they are able to replicate themselves. They also need user interaction. For example, maybe you download something which has got maybe attachments or viruses, then immediately just open, if it's a folder or that software, you just open it, meaning it will begin to replicate itself and also start affecting these other files or programs. So now for worms, they don't even need human interactions. So computer worms, they use up all the hard disk space owing to their replication capability and the speed of replication, which can wreak havoc on the system's resources. So these will just start noticing that, okay, no, your storage is getting full, hard drive is getting full, but you're not putting anything. So just know that, okay, no, the type of virus which I'm dealing with here is the computer worm. Okay, so they can even modify or delete files and introduce other malicious programs into the system. other malicious programs into the system. Replication. Okay, so computer worms are also capable of stealing information and introducing a backdoor for hackers to gain unauthorized access and control to the system. So now when we meet, we will be able to do a bit of practicals concerning how we can know if the computer has got a backdoor or it doesn't, and also how we can make one. We'll be able to make a backdoor for Windows 7, 8, and also Windows up to Windows 10. Okay, so now we go to phishing. So phishing is a form of cyber crimes which involves someone posing as a legitimate institution over the telephone, email, or text message in an attempt to trick potential targets to give away personal and critical information like banking details and passwords. Okay, this results in financial loss and identity thefts. Even though most people are wary of such attacks, it is completely easy to fall victim to phishing, unfortunately. So we just need to be careful. We've got also what we call social engineers. So these social engineers, they pretend to be working maybe for a certain or a company or an institution. Let's say, for example, receive a call from someone saying, or maybe from bank. So no, this is the name of the bank. They mentioned this is the bank. So we are experiencing maybe some faults. So we are kindly asking for credentials so that we can work on the things that needs to be worked on. So they are just trying to steal information, bank details information. So just be careful and be aware of such people. So you go to the other one, which we are calling the botnet. So a botnet is a network of connected computers that have been compromised by hackers without the knowledge of the users. Each of the infected computers in the network is called a zombie computer. So the infected computer, which now is the bot, is used for carrying out malicious activities in larger scale attacks like the DDoS. The other one is rootkit. So the rootkit is also a malicious software designed to provide unauthorized access to a computer or restricted areas while actively masking its existence. Through rootkits, hackers can change system configurations and execute files remotely on the host computers. We've got also what we call keylogger. So a keylogger basically is a type of monitoring software that can track and record all keyboard strokes and activities by a user without his or her knowledge. So you see, this one is more dangerous. So let's say you are typing the password, it is able to track and record the password that you are entering. So the keys, it is using the keys from the keyboard and sends now to the owner, the one who created it. Meaning it's easy for such person or such a hacker to steal for important information, also known as the keystroke logger. It is one of the common ways to steal a person's login details. Okay, so now those are just some of the threats that are involved under computer security. There are a lot of threats that I have not mentioned here, but feel free to add on and do some more research. So let's talk about now the importance of this computer security. If a computer security system is not put in place until a problem arises, it could lead to major issues and concerns, and it will be too late to resolve them. So especially in a data-driven world, it is imperative to keep all kinds of information from malicious hackers and prevent vital information from falling into the wrong hands for misuse. Falling into the wrong hands, maybe the important information can fall into someone's hand, and then that person decides to just now start misusing the information. Okay. So computer security helps keep valuable information protected and maintain the health of a computer with no disruptive behavior in its performance caused by viruses or malware. Okay. So that's all for the importance and need of computer security. So now we'll read more the different categories of computer security. So let's go to the different categories of computer security now. So types of computer security. So here are a few types of computer security tactics that are used widely for the protection of software, hardware, electronic data, and network in computer systems. Application security, that's the first one. So under application security, we are saying, okay, application security is the introduction of security features in applications during their development process. Introduction of security features in applications during their development process. So this actively helps prevent potential cyber threats such as data breaches, DOS, which is basically the denial of service attacks, SQL injection, and many others. Okay. Some examples of application securities tools are antivirus software, files, web application files, and encryption. Okay. Let's make progress. The other one is information security. So we moved away from application security, we come to information security. So information security is a set of practices that aim to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, known as the CIA trade of data from unauthorized access and misuse. Okay, so this is the simple definition. It's easy to understand this one because we've already talked about issues of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Okay, so we can make progress from now. Network security, this is the third one. Application security, application security, information security. We now come to network security. So the network security, basically we are saying, is an activity that aims to protect the integrity and usability of a network and data. It consists of both hardware and software technologies that are specifically designed to prevent unauthorized intrusion into computer systems and networks. Okay, so we know what they mean by hardware and software here, right? So the hardware, we said these are physical parts of a computer which we're able to see and touch, basically. For example, the keyboard, the monitor, the mouse, those are examples under hardware. The software, we talked about the software. define what a software is, the types of softwares that are there, and also their importance. Okay, so we go to the other one, which is endpoint security. So the endpoint security here, we are saying these are increasingly becoming the biggest security risk unintentionally, with no fault from their end, exempting the lack of awareness. The virtual gates of an organization are open to hackers and attacks. Most of the end users are unaware of the ICT policy, and therefore it is imperative that the users who handle sensitive information on a regular basis understand and be knowledgeable about all comprehensive security policies, protocols, and also procedures. The last one under the types of computer security, the last one we look at is the internet security. So the internet security, we are saying, is one of the most important types of computer security that come with a set of rules and protocols that focus on specific threats and activities that happen online. Okay, so now these are types of security that happens online from the word internet. So internet meaning online. Okay, so it provides protection against hacking, disk operating system attacks, computer viruses, and malware, malicious softwares. Okay, so if there are any questions concerning the types of computer security, please feel free to comment. Your questions will be able to answer your questions. And also for the notes, you can just visit the school website, or you can just drop your email in the comments so that you get the notes. Alright, so let's move on now to healthy computer security principles and practices. Since attacks on computer systems and networks are becoming relentlessly inventive day by day, the need for combating them is vital. So it's very important. So instead, I feel of the healthy computer security practices that one must be aware of to safeguard against growing computer threats. Alright, so now the first point is saying ensure physical computer security. So this one is self-explanatory, the physical computer security. So install security and antivirus software, activate firewall. The second one, update your software and stay alert on news and the latest software. Do not click on email attachments from unknown senders. So only open the emails that you know these emails, they are from trusted source, or you know the person who is sending the email. Alright, so make your passwords strong and change them regularly. So how do you know that this is a strong password now? So a strong password is a combination of symbols, letters, uppercase, lowercase. For example, an example that we can give here on the password, maybe we can say let's say maybe student at 20 that. So you've seen, so this password here, the one that we've just made here, we can say this is a strong password. Why are we saying it's a strong password? Because it is a combination of uppercase, lowercase, the symbols, we use this at, and also the numbers also are involved. So this is what determines actually the strong password. Then the weak password mostly is just maybe the guessable passwords. Those guessable passwords, we call them under computer security as weak passwords. So ignore pop-ups and drive-by downloads when using the internet. Educate yourself on the fundamentals of computer security and the latest cyber threats. Perform regular scans and create system backups periodically. So you should avoid sharing passwords. The issues of sharing passwords, you can't know, you might never know the person you're giving the password, what they can do to the information, to sensitive information actually. So now, in addition to the above, there are several other ways such as computer cleaners and encryption to protect your computer. Okay, sure it's clear here. We can move on now. Let us talk also a bit on the computer security careers and jobs. Let us talk about the computer security careers and jobs. So when we say careers, you know what we mean. Those, maybe the others would want to major their careers, maybe just major computers, do cyber security, computer science, networking, all the different programs that are under that has to do with computers. Okay, so now computer security is a booming career and promises good career opportunities for those who have the proficiency. So those who have the proficiency. Security software developer. So security software developers, these are responsible for building software and integrating security into the applications. Okay, so these you get a lot of money. Yeah. So the issue of getting a lot of money, it's a bit debatable, because mostly, especially if it's in Africa, we just negotiate for salaries. Yeah, there's no specific like the standard salary for these people who've done computers, so it's just to negotiate. So their roles may include developing strategies for software security, overseeing a team during the development of security tools, involvement in the life cycle development of software, testing for vulnerabilities, and participating in software deployments to customers. Okay, there are also what we call, apart from the security software developers, there are also what we call a security architect. So security architects, they build and execute complete network and computer security for an organization. They create complex security frameworks and ensure their functionality. They are responsible for designing security systems that can counter hacking, malware, and DDoS attacks. So their salaries, the salary range, this one is just an approximation actually. So an annual average of 1 billion 903,000 US dollars. So that's approximately that's not standard, but that's just the range what these people, mostly those who get paid in dollars. Alright, so we move on to security consultant. This is the third type of career that is under computer security. So security consultant, so these cyber security experts evaluate threats, risks, issues, and come up with effective security solutions for organizations. Cybersecurity consultants, they advise organizations on securing their physical capital and information. They have to work with a wide range of variables during the security assessment. Then the other one is information security analyst. Information security analyst, ISA. Think of information security analysts as the frontline defense of networks. They are responsible for putting up firewalls and encryptions for protection against security breaches and constantly monitoring and auditing systems for suspicious activities. Okay, I won't talk much about their salaries. Okay, ethical hackers. So ethical hackers, this is also a job on its own actually. So the ethical hackers, they require a CEH certification. Be able to, I'll explain what that type of certificate is, the CEH certification, and are given the license to try and infiltrate their secured systems by their employers. So these techniques help in testing existing security protocols and developing upgrades of any software. So apart from ethical hackers, we also have what we call computer forensics analyst. Computer forensics analyst. Okay. Computer forensics analysts, these are involved in fighting cyber crimes and collaborate with law enforcement agencies. Some of their tasks includes, the first one is recovering deleted files. So recovering deleted files, issuing data trails, interpreting data linked to the crime, phone record analysis. So these are basically, mostly they deal with crime issues. So they're able to recover the deleted data. If, for example, if the data was in the hard drive, they're able to do that. They're able to recover the information. Also, phone record analysts, they're able to can retrieve all the calls, they'll make text messages, do that. Yes. Okay. So computer forensic analysts, they maintain detailed records of their investigations and are often required to provide evidence in court. Okay. So apart from the computer forensics analyst, we've got also the chief information security officer. So the chief information security officer, or the CISO in short, so we can abbreviate the chief information security officer as the CISO. Saying, but they manages the affairs of a company's IT security division. They plan, coordinate, and oversee all computer, network, and data security requirements. They determine the cybersecurity demands of an organization. CISOs are also responsible for assembling a staff of security experts, which calls for a strong background in IT security architecture and strategy, communication, and the HR, or the human resource. So now, having talked about the importance of computer security, the types of computer security that are there, the types of threats that are under computer security, and also the career wise, talking about them career wise. So we can say, with security threats constantly evolving, security programs also continue to invent new defenses against these new threats and find new ways to combat them. Okay. Most computer security threats are largely avoided, and understanding how to keep computer systems secure can take care of most of other security concerns. Okay. So we are saying The internet has transformed our lives. The internet has transformed our lives in many good ways. Unfortunately, this vast network and its associated technologies also have brought in their work. The increasing number of security threats. The most effective way to protect yourself from all these threats and attacks is to be aware of standard cybersecurity practices. So now this article on what how computer security is presents an opportunity. Alright. So now basically you now have the full understanding of what computer security is, what is involved in computer security, what it deals with, and also the types of threats that are there. We've talked about the viruses, the computer worms, and we've just talked about the types, but we've not really talked about how we can now prevent, or the measures that can be put in place for us to be able to avoid such threats to our systems. The security careers and jobs, we've talked about this, how those were the market that when you study these type of careers that has to do with computer related issues, especially security ones, how marketable one can be. Then also we say the security software developers. These are people who develop softwares. So we defined what their job is. So their role may include developing strategies for software security, overseeing a team during the development of security tools, involvement in the life cycle. So this is the part I wanted you to see now. So the life cycle development of software. So now how they develop this software, we'll be able to talk about also the stages that are involved in developing a software. So testing for vulnerabilities and participating in software deployments to customers. Alright. So the security architects, who said this, they are responsible for designing. They are responsible for designing security systems that can counter hacking, malware, and DDoS attacks. So that's the side basically. So computer security consultants, and these, since they are consultants, their job mostly is to advise organizations on securing their physical capital and information. They have to work with a wide range of variables during the security assessments. Okay, the information security analyst, we say think of security analysts as the frontline defense of networks. They are responsible for putting up files and encryptions for protection against security breaches, and constantly monitoring and auditing systems for suspicious activities. Okay. Ethical hackers. Next time, now the next lecture also talk about the unethical hackers, and also maybe most what made them to be unethical, because I'm sure before they became unethical they are once at some point ethical hackers. Okay. So also talk about the computer forensics analysts. So these are basically the laws that they do. The computer forensics analyst. Okay. So they maintain detailed records of their investigations and are often required to provide evidence in court. So, but also the security officer, we are calling the CISO. Okay. So now in conclusion, we can say With security programs also, security threats constantly evolving. Security programs also continue to invent new defenses against these new threats and find new ways to combat them. So most computer security threats are largely avoidable, and understanding how to keep computer systems secure can take care of most of other security concerns. So now we've talked about the different and also the threats that we are likely to come across with, or we are likely to encounter as we deal with the issues to do with security. Okay, so now let us make sure that we are able to identify or also know the importance of computer security in our lives, especially in this generation where everything now is just computer based. So it's important to understand and be able to apply these concepts that we are learning in this lecture. Alright, so till next time, have a good day and God bless.